Right, yes.
So when we get to the point of running through the rest of it, I'll probably drop it out so that we can only see the speaker view in the recording.
Perfect.
Well, we're enough minutes after the hour. I want to just start in and and you mentioned you've been looking to take one of our classes. I'm going to ask the open question. Why are you taking this class? It's
Well, it's just like you said, all the things that are going on right now. And you know, I was gonna do the other ones and the timing just didn't work out, but I'm all about natural things and just trying to find ways to help keep my family healthy. So
wonderful. Absolutely. And natural beats everything else. We found that you can go completely natural and stay totally healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in then. And and introduce us. Would you start, please? This is Winona, my wife.
Hi. And we just moved to Diamond Valley about 4 years ago from St. George, and just kind of all over before St. George, although I grew up here in St. George. And we moved out here. Yes, we wanted to be self-sufficient, so we liked having an acre. And this area reminded Fred of where he grew up in Mapleton, Utah. It reminded him of a little town feel, and he loved that. So here we are. Fred and I both have master herbalist degrees, I guess you could call it. we both have studied herbal health for some time, and both of us have found, as he mentioned, that using the approach of natural or God-given tends to work better and longer and more completely than anything else that we've done. So,
you know what I want to start with? Instead of jumping to the slides, I want to start with today.
Okay.
How familiar are you, Christy, with Dr. Christopher's products like Kitty Well and Kitty Mune? Have you heard of them?
No, I don't think I have.
You won't be able to read it on small screen, but it's echinacea. Read it to us. That's Kitty Well.
Echinacea, yarrow flower, elderflower, and peppermint.
And Kitty Mune, or for the immune system, is just an echinacea tincture in glycerin so that kids can take it easily. And because I prefer glycerin over alcohol, that's the only one that we keep in our refrigerator for us. I don't know if I probably should have taken a picture of our herb cabinet, but we do have a fully stocked store in our front entryway also, so that there's everything here for everything. All of the kitty line, all of the other herbs that Dr. Christopher does. We trust his because they do excellent quality control. They will actually be out if they can't find good quality herbs. They just refuse to compromise quality for stock.
Oh, wow.
So today, why have we got these out? That's the story.
Well, I don't know that there's a lot of a story other than I woke up with a little bit of a runny nose and a scratchy throat today. So we're using all of our own interventions, so to speak. And that's one of them that I'm using is the Kitty Mune, which is the echinacea. Echinacea stimulates the immune system and gets it working harder. So I'm taking echinacea. I'm also drinking ginger tea Oh, you want me to put it up here where she can see? So I'm drinking ginger tea, just fresh ginger root with boiling water poured over it and steeped for about 10 minutes.
And let's talk
And
about.
You just dice up the ginger and.
Yep, or shred it into a strainer. Yep. And then the other thing I'm doing for my scratchy throat is kind of maybe something you maybe never have heard of, because I had never heard of it until a few years ago. Honey and onion. So you take an onion and chop it as fine as you can. I used my food processor. And then I just scrape that into a bowl and pour honey over it until it covers, just barely covers it. Let that sit for maybe 2 or 3 hours. And then you can spoon off the honey.
The liquid, which is actually the honey and the onion
juice,
liquid mixed together. Because both honey and onion are extremely antibiotic and antiviral. They're both real strong, but put together, and it's like they double their power.
Right. And where I learned about honey and onion, I had a daughter who got strep repeatedly. Like she would get it almost every winter, at least once. And she was really resistant to using anything natural. She wanted me to take her to the doctor. So we did. And they'd put her on antibiotics. She was a teenager. They'd put her on antibiotics. And after about the 3rd time, she said, okay, what have you got that'll be natural? Because I've got strep again, and I don't want another yeast infection, because she would get a yeast infection every time after the antibiotics. So we gave her the honey and onion for her strep, and 24 hours later, she was good. No more sore throat, no more white spots. She was great.
So you said that you take the liquid from it and.
Just
with a spoon.
Push the spoon in and it'll fill with the liquid. Or you can, the next day you can typically strain off the onion solids and just have the liquid left. But it doesn't taste like onion. It doesn't taste like honey. It's a completely different taste, and it's real mild. For people like me who go over sugar real fast, it doesn't give that sugar response either. So it's been pretty amazing.
Wow.
One more thing to try is my favorite, which is garlic. And
I think you put that on Facebook on the Diamond Valley Friends page.
Yeah, I mentioned that one in the Diamond Valley Friends page, but garlic, just throw a clove button, what do we call it? Of garlic in the blender with about a cup of water.
How would you know if it was in the waiting room?
And make it into, just blend it enough to chew it up.
Yeah.
And then if it's the right thing, now there's a dozen different, and we'll show on a slide a little later, there's a dozen different antiviral and antibiotic plants. If it's the right one for you, you won't smell like garlic either, because the body's going to use every bit of that. So I blend it up. I hold, just drink a mouthful. I don't drink it down. I put it in my mouth and then just hold it there, and it gets up in the sinuses. And then when you let it trickle down the throat, it kills everything in the throat and sinuses. So it tastes like garlic.
And it really is dependent on what it is, the virus that you have or the bug that you have, whether that's going to be the right thing or not. Because that was the first thing I tried today when I realized I had that. It was obviously not the right thing. I smelled like a pizza factory. But my mother taught me an old trick: chew parsley. That took care of it. So eating a handful of parsley. But
funny. I'll write that down.
Yes, it does work. If your body uses all of the garlic, you don't smell like garlic. It just uses it and there's no smell left. But parsley knocks it out, at least in the mouth. It doesn't necessarily knock it out from the pores, dumping out garlic smell.
Yes, you're telling me I'm going to smell like pizza for the next 2 days.
Maybe tomorrow. That's okay. We don't mind the garlic smell in our house. I want to switch to screen share unless you've got any questions and just go through the slides.
Okay, great.
So I want to start with the balance that is necessary to actually have a strong immune system. And if we stay balanced, if we use gratitude and exercise and positive relationships and our spiritual practices and have healthy stress management, typically our immune system is strong enough so that we just don't have an attack of things. But stress and other things can bring that on. And we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
My husband just joined, so I'm going to move the camera.
Please.
And see us
Hi, we're
next.
Fred and Winona. Good to see you.
Yes, yeah, nice to see you. Thank you.
And let's talk about how to destroy the immune system then. We talked about what's beneficial for the immune system, but how do we actually destroy it without even trying to destroy it? It doesn't take much. We've got genetically modified foods, we've got antibiotics, we've got chlorine in a lot of water systems, thankfully not in ours. Fluoride in some water systems. There's mercury in things still, sugars, and then some emotions like anger and hate, lack of forgiveness. Those all are really hard on the immune system. I bolded that mono diet because there are some people that eat the same thing day after day after day after day. Our immune system, and we'll talk about more in a moment about this, but our immune system actually starts in our gut. The gut bacteria is about 80% of our immune system. And so if we eat only one food, we're not feeding the friendly bacteria in the gut. We're actually starving them and creating a very small diversity in the gut bacteria also. So eating a very wide variety of fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains really does make a huge difference in how well we keep a good, healthy immune system. A clogged out bowel, unneeded or excess vaccines, and exposures to chemicals also really hammer and destroy our immune system. Anything I missed?
I don't think so. So even though germs kind of do make us sick, it's not the germs themselves that necessarily make us sick. It's why one person can, why you can have two people exposed to the same exposure, one gets sick, one doesn't. The reason it depends on your immune system. How well is your body prepared to meet that new challenge and take care of it. So it is the germ, but it's not the germ that makes us sick, if that makes sense. If our immune system is not healthy, then those germs can get in and they start to thrive. And just the same way that if, I had neighbors once who, I lived in an apartment complex years and years and years and years and years ago with neighbors who were not clean, really not clean. And they had cockroaches, and we lived in northern Utah. And
Wow.
it meant that the whole complex had cockroaches, because this one family had cockroaches. And just the same way as cockroaches and things like that thrive in environments where there's dirt and filth and, and not kept clean, the same way those unwanted bugs. So we have the friendly bugs, the friendly bacteria, but the unwanted bugs, the viruses and things that make us sick, thrive and do well in an environment where our body is not got the proper nourishment or where we haven't kept things clean. So again, it can be, and there's a lot of different things. Sometimes we run to the doctor for an antibiotic or whatever. We think it's a bacteria, but it might not be a bacteria that's making us sick. Virus is real common. And interestingly, one that we've seen a lot of lately is fungal things that make us sick. That can be, if you have mold in your house, you can get a fungal issue. We lived in southern Nevada for several years, and a lot of people had a fungal infection called valley fever, and that's actually known to be around here in southern Utah sometimes. So, you know, there's a lot of other things that can make us feel like we're sick.
Really watch it.
It's not necessarily a
For you,
virus.
mostly.
So yes, and that fungal especially really makes a huge challenge. Here in our community, 2 years ago, I think it was, we had a bunch of people that got upper respiratory illnesses and stayed sick for 2-3 weeks, some of them for 2 or 3 months, and never could overcome it until they finally, because they went to the doctor, they got antibiotics, it didn't help at all. And finally we said, no, there's a fungus going around, try the antifungals. And we'll show on a slide in a few minutes here what those antifungal plants are. And in every case, within 2 or 3 days, they were completely clear of the upper respiratory that had them coughing for months. So it really does make a difference to know what it is, bacteria, virus, or fungus. So what is the immune system's job? A lot of that immune system really is in our gut, and it'll destroy, and we have immune system in our sinuses, but also in our bloodstream, which will destroy foreign bodies inside of our own body, foreign pathogens. We mentioned that we're talking about Dr. Christopher's products, some. Well, let's take a look at one that actually helps the immune system balance. He calls it Immune Calm or Immu-Calm, but it just has marshmallow and astragalus. Astragalus is a adaptogen plant. Now let me define what an adaptogen is. Adaptogens, there's only 21 plants in that
Group.
Yeah, that have been assigned to the adaptogen group. And they're not all in the same class or genera. Family, yes. But astragalus and all the others help the body handle stress. But they each have their own strong point. And astragalus is it balances out the immune system. If we need more strength in the immune system, it'll bring it up. But most of the time it's used because it calms down the immune system and clears an allergy response or a hyperimmune response. And so that's one of the supports for the immune system that I have really loved. In fact, I'm taking it on a daily basis, not because of immune response or immune benefit, but because astragalus is the one plant that helps the telomeres stay full length. Now, what are telomeres? Telomeres are the tel that when a cell divides, it has to have enough tel to divide again, so that it can snap apart and continue dividing. And astragalus helps that tel stay full length. So we don't age, we don't stop the cell division process.
As quickly.
It's working. I'm looking young, I know. Gut health.
So gut health. And I've done a lot of research on this because I'm a licensed mental health professional, and more science is discovering that our gut bacteria is the underlying common denominator in mental health illness of all kinds, from depression to even schizophrenia, bipolar, some of the more severe things. Those gut bacteria are incredibly important for our mental health, but for our overall health. As Fred mentioned, they are about 80 or 90% of our immune system. So keeping those bacteria in our gut healthy providing them with the right kind of environment and providing them with adequate food, and they feed on fiber, which is really, for the most part, which is really interesting, which is one of the reasons a diet that's high in fiber is so important to us. And as Fred mentioned, a diet that has a wide variety of different kinds of fiber. So some of those gut bacteria love wheat. Some of those gut bacteria love cranberries. Some of them love, nuts. So, I mean, so there's just they all really like different things. And the more kinds of different fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and whole grains that we can provide for them, the more healthy and diverse they're going to be, and the healthier they're going to keep us.
Wow.
Absolutely powerful.
So you say that they like different things. How can you know what's best for you? Like what kind of things would you look for? Does that make sense?
Boy, that's a tough question.
well, it's a question that needs a couple of skills on top of it. So for our clients, we actually teach them how to do their own muscle testing, which is how to know what's good or bad for their body, strong or weak for their body. And another skill we teach is which foods are building to your body, neutral to your body, or damaging or toxic to your body. And it changes throughout the year. A principle that's worth tying to this: if it's fresh, it's healthier than if it's not fresh. So fresh is always more nutritious. That's just obvious.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's
if it's seasonal to where we live.
Yes.
So I won't say in season as in the sense of, well, you can go out in the garden and pick it, because obviously there are things. So we eat salad in the winter. Our greenhouse isn't going, but generally speaking, if you live in Ecuador or Costa Rica, you want to eat papaya and bananas and pineapple and, and mangoes and that kind of thing, tropical fruit for the most part. If you live in Utah, you want to eat, fresh fruit in the summer, melons and berries and apricots and peaches and whatever is on right now. But in the winter, you want to eat sweet potatoes and beets and carrots and whole grain and whole beans and things like that. So kind of following a seasonal pattern and a relatively local, if you can, if it's possible to eat local, it's going to be better for your body. If you can't, fresh produce is always better than canned or frozen or, processed, whether it's organic or not, whether it's local or not. You're always better off having fresh produce. But, just kind of trying to keep in mind, what's the season here? Watermelon in December in Utah is probably not a food that's the best thing for your gut bacteria, right?
Whereas root vegetables and things like that would be.
So that's kind of how one of the main principles that we use to kind of decide. And skip that.
Thank you.
Okay, 80% of our immune system capacity is in our gut, and there's multiple articles there. We're not going to spend any time on that. Our first line of defense for our immune system is our healthy gut bacteria, though. And that's true for prevention and treatment of many infections. We want to mention prebiotics and probiotics briefly because it's so critical to understand what prebiotic and probiotics actually do there. So a prebiotic, by definition, creates a home for the friendly bacteria to live in. And that's any food, and there's many, but any food that creates kind of a slippery, mucousy, thin mucousy format for the gut, the sides of the gut. Whereas a probiotic is actually trying to put more of those friendly bacteria in. And without going into a long discussion on it, because it really could take hours to talk about what are those 5,000 families of friendly bacteria and what are all their different jobs, just like if you had an area for people to populate, if you build homes for them, make sure there's water and food available, they're going to populate. They're going to move in and they're going to reestablish. Our gut is the same. If we've got a home and a friendly place for them, we're eating a lot of variety, then they're going to populate. They're going to expand. And just by eating a good variety and having a good home for them, using prebiotics like oatmeal, flax, chia seeds, a lot of the beans, onions, garlic, apples, asparagus, there's literally dozens of others. My favorite happens to be Soothing Digestion Formula, which is just slippery elm and licorice root. So slippery elm is a extremely good prebiotic.
Right. Interestingly, I've just noticed about onions and garlic. That just dawned on me. It's so interesting that nature is so incredibly smart, because onions and garlic are very powerful antibiotics toward unfriendly bacteria. You know, we mentioned when we very first started that onions and garlic are the first thing that that we turn to if there's a cold or flu, or, you know, again, I had a little scratchy throat today. That's the first things that I turn to. Those are not just antibiotic, antiviral against those things that I don't want. They're also prebiotic and good food for the healthy bacteria that I do want. So I think that's just amazing. Nature is so smart.
Yes. If we're going to need probiotics or things that actually add bacteria, friendly bacteria to our gut to make it healthier, fermented foods that are in the fridge section at the store or that we make ourselves are actually the strongest of those foods. And we'll show the recipes for both sauerkraut, fresh made, and fermented pickles, fresh made, here on a little later slide. I only want to mention this because T killer cells are one of the inside one. And if you've never seen a video of a T killer cell in action, it actually will take a cell that's unhealthy or a cancer cell and it'll engulf it, eat it, and completely absorb it. And if you look on YouTube for videos of T killer cells in action, it's really, really amazing to see what they do. Our body is so amazing on the things that go on inside us routinely, and we don't know that it's going on. It'd be a great video to show the kids.
Cool.
We've already talked about two of these, or the prebiotics. Cleansing, we kind of alluded to that earlier. If you've got an environment that is trashed out inside of us, if the toxic level is high, then the unfriendly bacteria, the pathogens, the viruses and bacteria that make us sick actually have an opportunity to multiply very quickly because there's plenty of food in the toxic type for them to feed on. So we want to speak a little bit more about herbs that support the immune function, because preventing a viral infection is actually what most of this topic was about today. Good nutrition, according to Linus
Pauling.
Pauling.
He's the vitamin C guy.
Yes. Good nutrition will prevent 95% of all disease, is what he says. And that is a true statement. Broad spectrum fresh nutrition will prevent most disease. Now, some prevention extras. If it happens to be winter, the kids have ate too much candy because it's Halloween. Right after that, it's Thanksgiving. Right after that, it's more holidays, more treats. So the Kitty Well and Kitty Immune that we were talking about before is helpful, and so is the Super Garlic Immune Formula. I want to spend just a little teeny bit more time on that. Anti-plague formula is what it used to be called. Super Garlic Immune starts out with fresh garlic juice. It's also got wild-crafted mullein in it, and we're going to talk more about mullein on the next slide, so I'm not going to spend any time on it right here. just know that it's antibiotic and antiviral. Wormwood does exactly what it says. It will kill parasites in the body. Lobelia is a guide herb. Marshmallow calms down the tissue, and so that it's calm and not being infected as easily. White oak bark, very high in nutrients, including calcium. Black walnut is an antifungal. Interesting that black walnut is included in there because it's such a powerful antifungal. Skullcap helps the nerves rebuild. Gravel root breaks down inorganic calcium, inorganic other minerals, and lets the body clear them out so that we're not left with toxins in the body. All of these are also extremely nutritive, but I'm mentioning some of their specific properties that make a difference in this formula also. Plantain leaf is a little green leaf that grows from a center. Back east, it grows wild everywhere. We can get it to grow here. We have plantain growing in our front yard. But plantain absorbs or pulls poison out of tissue and is extremely effective in pulling blood poisoning.
And the toxins from illness.
Yeah. And aloe vera is another antibiotic and antifungal plant.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just point this out. This is from my own spreadsheet that I filtered on garlic. And there's a lot of properties on garlic, 33 total if you look at the far left of the page there. But garlic is antibiotic, antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral, all. And ginger is antibiotic, antifungal, and antiviral also. That's why garlic and ginger are two of those that we focus on when it's time to fight any kind of infection. We go, okay, let's give it the 1-2 punch and knock it out with garlic and ginger. In addition to garlic and ginger, red raspberry leaf is an extremely effective, and that can be as a tea, that can be as capsules. The red raspberry leaf, in addition to being very effective as an antibiotic, is also the woman's herb for all times of a woman's life, from puberty clear through death, really, because it provides everything that the woman's body needs to stay healthy and balanced in the hormonal area. Stops first trimester morning sickness, makes pregnancy easier, makes delivery easier. If a young woman has painful periods, raspberry leaf is the key to calming down those periods. It's just the right plant for all of those.
And so you can have it as a tea, or is there other ways to take it as well, you said?
But you can take it as capsules or yes, as a tea. It's extremely inexpensive. Or if you grow raspberries, you can go pull the leaves in the summer and dry them and use them yourself. So.
Yeah.
Is one better than the other, like a capsule versus a tea, or would you say?
Tea is more powerful
Okay.
because it's had a chance to pull the properties out, whereas capsulated, it works.
Yeah.
We've seen people that can't stand tea do just fine with capsules, but the tea is more powerful because it's had a chance to pull those properties into the water and then immediately deliver them to the body.
Right. That's been our experience almost with everything that we use. Is tea is quicker because once those properties are pulled into the water and you drink it, your body can absorb it instantly. And those nutrients that were in the plant are in the water, and your body can absorb it very, very quickly.
And that could be a daily thing, or what would you recommend to?
For women, absolutely daily.
Yeah.
For everyone else, for men, little boys, whatever, if there's an illness, it's a perfect fighting thing. Go to near zero on the food, or real simple on the food, and then go high on the raspberry leaf tea. Just 24 hours, and it's usually enough to kill any infection, anything that's trying to get started in 24 hours. Echinacea and golden seal is the other one that we use a lot, and that comes in tincture also. We always carry the tincture and the
that's
capsules.
more of a really if it's severe kind of thing. Echinacea is a good thing to take
by itself.
It helps boost the immune system. It really is kind of a kick it up and make it fight harder immune system thing. Golden seal is an extremely potent antibiotic. It's very expensive because it's been over harvested. It mostly grows in Appalachia. It's been really over harvested. But the other thing about golden seal is it's a very powerful antibiotic, right up there almost with pharmaceutical antibiotics, other than the fact it won't kill the friendly bacteria in your gut. And so you would not want to take golden seal for longer than about 10 days. It's really, really powerful. You don't want to take it for a long time. So
here's a list of plants that are antibiotic. This is not a complete list. Before I jump to the plant names, though, I want to point out the two articles that are highlighted briefly from the Mayo Clinic and Kaiser Permanente websites that tell us that bacteria and viruses are different. And this is mainstream medicine that's saying don't take antibiotic drugs for colds, because colds and flus are usually viral. But plants work wonderfully as antibiotics, and you'll notice on the next slide too that a lot of these plants are also antiviral. So anyway, some of the plants that are antibiotic: aloe, burdock, calendula, echinacea root, eucalyptus, garlic, ginger, golden seal, licorice root, mullein, peppermint, sage, and wormwood. And there are many others. I'm going to jump to the next slide though, because you'll notice that the antivirals and the antibiotic plants, anything that's highlighted, are both antibiotic and antiviral. So we make it a practice to keep many of those in our cupboard, and so that we got the ability to fight off whatever in both of them.
We may not know what it is that's making us sick, but if we have those that are kind of across the spectrum, then we're good, no matter what it is.
And if we look at the antifungals, you'll notice that they cross over in most of those too. That's why I picked this group of plants, is that they actually go across all three. So if we're sick, we can grab one of those that's highlighted and go, oh, I don't even have to know muscle testing. I don't have to know how to listen to my body. Like we teach all of our clients, we can just do 2 or 3 or 4 of those that go across all of the things and successfully clear that illness. And I say clear it in the first 24 hours. Let's not wait until it's had a chance to get fully established, made its home in our body. Let's instead kick it out by picking 2, 3, 4, whatever we've got in the cupboard or in the house or in the yard, and do them all, and do them fast and hard. Take a garlic drink, take ginger tea, take mullein tea. I mean, 3 or 4 of those all at once. Put some oregano in your
pizza, your garlic and your oregano. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And whatever you can do to hit it from multiple sides at once and kill it out before it gets started.
Yeah.
So if you fight a virus with plants, what happens? It's gone in 24 hours if you fight hard enough. Match the fight to the overwhelm, and don't let it overcome. part of the challenge with illness for all of us is we get tired because of the illness, and then we forget to fight it.
Well, and the other thing is, a lot of people that we have talked to worry about overdosing. They worry about taking too much. Our experience is, and all of these plants on this list are 100% non-toxic. You cannot overdose. I mean, you just can't. So,
Yeah.
Feel free to take a ton of it. I'll typically, if I get the tiniest scratch or whatever, I'll do 1, 2 this hour, another 2 the next hour, and just something every hour of that day until I go to bed. And the next morning I wake up with nothing. There's no symptoms of illness.
It's amazing.
Is there one on that list that you go to more often? I mean, probably the garlic and the ginger, because those are.
what happened to the mullein? You had a slide on mullein.
I'm going to find it. It might be next. We'll find the mullein slide because it's critical. Mullein is one of those we use a lot.
It's across all three.
Because it's across all three. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, garlic and ginger, because they're household ones, we always keep these on hand so that we've got the Kid Immune and Kitty Well with the echinacea in it. That's another one that goes across all of them. And then licorice root goes across all of them too.
Onion is not on your list, but
Onion goes across multiple ones too. So any of that family, the garlic, onion, leek,
right.
chives, shallots.
In fact, with onions, one of the things that is not in our slide presentation that I just thought of and remember, when my kids were sick, or when I'm sick, especially if it's a respiratory nasal kind of thing, one of the things you can do is cut an onion into pieces and just sit it on the bedside, on the bedside table right next to them, and
it attracts bacteria.
I know, it's interesting. Yes, it actually kind of helps pull the bacteria and stuff out of the air and the viruses, and helps breathing. So it's something that I use onion a lot when kids are sick.
Wow.
Interesting.
Oh.
There's the sauerkraut and if you want to take a quick picture, or
are you going to see your
email? I can send slides out too. And there's the dill pickles recipe. These are, again, put them in the fridge. They'll keep about 6 months in the fridge. I love them. Winona does such a great job of making these. These are my favorites.
Nice.
And slippery elm, we mentioned before, is a wonderful prebiotic. And that is one of our favorite smoothie type recipes. Mullein is in our lung support section. So we've got about 10 more minutes of looking specifically at lung support, because this virus this year affected the lungs pretty significantly. And so some of the single herbs that rebuild the lungs, Brigham tea grows all around us. I assume you're already drinking it.
Do you know what it is when we say Brigham tea?
I've seen it listed on Facebook posts, and I've asked a neighbor about it, but we've never used it. My neighbor said that she'd take me out to show me the plants, and what plant it is, and we haven't done it yet. So
look it up in Google,
do it.
And just go grab a few handfuls, put a spaghetti-sized handful in 2 quarts or more of water, and simmer it for 20 minutes.
It doesn't need to dry out or anything. You just put it right in.
You can do it. It looks dry already because of the stockiness of it, but don't put it in plastic because there's still enough moisture. It will mold if it goes in plastic. So we store it either in a cardboard box after we've harvested, or a paper bag.
So it can dry out. We tend to go out and harvest a year's worth at once. Again.
About now, about this time of year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me how you store it for the whole year?
We just put it in a cardboard box or a paper bag.
It needs to breathe enough to finish drying out.
Okay.
You can use it.
Oh,
And you
wow.
can use as much as you want fresh. It doesn't matter.
Brigham tea is a really powerful, it's not so much a lung rebuilder as it is,
Expectorant.
it's an expectorant. It also,
Bronchial dilator.
it's kind of an antihistamine
Yep.
type response. I had a son, my youngest son, when he was 10 or 11, had asthma quite severely every winter. And when it would get cold, his lungs would flare up. He would have asthma. He also had problems with exercise. He had exercise-induced asthma. And we put Brigham tea in his, what was that machine called? His nebulizer. We put Brigham tea in his nebulizer instead of the steroids. And he never, after that, he never had another asthma attack. And in fact, he joined the Marines when he was 19, got full-blown pneumonia in basic training, and finished
The crucible.
Finished the crucible with pneumonia. Never had an asthma attack. Managed to get through it. So whatever Brigham tea does to help with that process, it's really powerful for that, for helping with breathing.
Yeah, it opens up the bronchial tubes. It dilates the bronchial tubes really, really powerfully.
You already mentioned astragalus.
Yep. Holy basil.
Holy basil is an Indian relative of the basil that we use here in our country. It grows in India. And it is helpful for the lungs, but the other thing it's really good for is depression. And I've used it successfully with clients who had depression. It just kind of helps. It must do something to help that gut bacteria, because it is a real positive help for that as well. But it does help lungs. Rhodiola is another one of those adaptogen herbs. It just kind of supports lung function and does that. And then mullein is our favorite.
We'll talk about that in the next slide, because we got a specific slide on it. And the two formulas that I'm showing here highlighted, lung and bronchial formula, respiratory relief formula, have some of those Brigham tea and mullein and stuff in them. And in fact, there's mullein. So the first property of mullein is anodyne, and I'm going to let Winona talk about its pain relief property.
So that's actually how we really discovered mullein, was that I broke my arm about 6 years ago, pretty severely. I hit my wrist on some concrete curbing, and it broke the tips on both bones. And they told me I was going to have surgery and all of that. I can't take opiate pain relievers. They make me so sick. I can't take them. And so I was desperately searching for something, because the pain was so intense and so high. I was searching for something and just ran through all of our herbal books. And I ran across a little note that mentioned that mullein has narcotic strength pain relief effects without any side effects. We have found and it worked. I made some mullein tea, and literally within seconds, the pain was diminishing and gone pretty quickly. We've given mullein. I had a sister who had surgery. She used mullein post-surgery, and she said it worked 100%. She had no pain when she took enough of it. Yeah, again, you can't overdose on it. It is a pain reliever of tissue damage. It doesn't help with things like migraines or nerve damage, things like that. But if you've got tissue damage, broken bones, wounds, surgical things, that kind of thing, it's incredible for pain relief. Much better than any other pain reliever we've ever seen, and no side effects at all. And you can't overdose.
While you mention its strength on opioids, we've had several that we've helped who were addicted to opioids, and they replaced their opioid 1-for-1 with mullein. And just over time, one lady was on 6 doses of the highest amount of opioids that they will allow a person to take, trying to buffer her pain. And she just replaced 1 dose for a week, replaced the next dose for a week, and in just a few months, she was completely off all the opioids. And the pain stopped too. The pain stopped because opioids actually damage the nerve sheath. They pull the calcium off of the insulation that's around the nerves and damage it, whereas mullein rebuilds the tissue and nerve and so forth.
Right, so that she didn't have to keep taking the mullein.
Yeah. It is antibiotic. Go ahead.
So something like arthritis, is that something that mullein would help with, or is
It will usually help temporarily. Arthritis, there's two kinds of arthritis, inflammatory or osteo or bone spur type arthritis. And we'd want to address which kind it was. So the other benefit of Mullein, and I'll mention right now, it's down there in the demulcent words, is it hydrates and makes slick the joint, the bone on cartilage. And so a lot of that pain is actually coming because the slickness and the smoothness isn't there anymore. And that's one way in arthritis it makes a huge difference, because it smooths out and slickens that joint again. Expectorant, nutritive, vulnerary, it also rebuilds the lungs. And that's the reason we focus on it, because in addition to fighting viruses and bugs, it rebuilds the lungs and helps the lungs clear out. And expectorant cleans out the garbage out of the lungs, makes a difference there. So,
in fact, one you need to admit, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
One of the things that I was really interested to find out, I did a specific research project on Mullein for my master herbalist degree. And one of the things I was really interested to find out is that Native Americans picked up on Mullein very quickly after it was brought to the New World. It's not native to America. It was brought here by English settlers, European settlers, because it's native to Europe. But once Native Americans picked up on it, they actually dried it and smoked it for pneumonia. So it's very powerful for lungs, and they discovered that pretty quickly. And that's what it's actually most well known for in the herbal world.
The lung and bronchial formula does have Mullein in it, along with several others, and we won't take time to talk those, but if people have a significant lung or bronchial issue, that formula is extremely powerful.
To rebuild.
And respiratory relief, again, has Mullein, garlic, several other things in it. That's a good formula to try for that kind of stuff. We use muscle testing. I'm not going to spend time on it right now, but finding out what's right for an individual's body, like a chiropractor does when they ask you to put your arm out and push on it or something like that. We teach self-muscle testing, so every client knows how to approach their own food, their own exercise, and what's best for them.
And you can actually YouTube that. There are a number of videos on YouTube that can teach you how to do self-muscle testing. And then you can use it to find out, is this food is good for me, this food is not good for me. This herb is right for what's going on with me, this herb is not right for what's going on with me. So it's a really good approach.
Jason, Rachel, you're muted, but you're welcome to jump in at any time. We've really, and you can ask questions, jump in at any time you want. We're just finishing up. We are Fred and Winona Davies at The Wholesome Life. TheWholesomeLife.info is our website. And we do see clients constantly and work with them. I'm going to actually stop the screen share so that we can. No, they have to unmute themselves. And I put there if they want to. Any other questions?
Hi, sorry.
Hi, Jason.
Hey, and I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I wasn't muted earlier. I'm still kind of getting used to the Zoom thing.
That's okay. I muted you when it started coming in, but we're open to questions.
So we haven't had any major gaffes, nobody getting undressed in front of the camera, anything like that.
That's good. Yeah, I was just making dinner, but I was listening to you guys, and it's fantastic. I really appreciate you guys putting this on.
Well, you're welcome. We love the fact that the body takes care of itself if we understand enough about it. And I don't know how early you joined, Jason, but both Winona and I are master herbalists and have been using nutrition and plants to rebuild the body. For me, most of my life, 24 years ago, I actually switched over completely to plant-based. care of the body, rebuilding a knee, rebuilding my pancreas, rebuilding all the way through. The whole body's been rebuilt now. And so in our 60s, we feel better than we did in 20s and 30s. Still continuing aging process, but for example, just a month and a half ago, I had to move concrete block for a building I'm building, and I moved 8,000 pounds of block in one day by hand, one 40-pound, 44-pound block in each hand, and moved 8,000 pounds and no soreness. And at this age, you'd expect that to pretty well rough you up a little bit, but
Yeah, you would.
no issue at all. Questions about how to take care of your own health, guys? Anything? We're open to questions at any point.
What about headaches? What would you recommend for someone that gets headaches a lot?
Depends on the kind of headache. There's 3 major causes of headaches. You can tell me the first one. I know everybody knows it. Hydration, water,
No.
and so rule of thumb for water, start out your morning first thing with a quart of water. Large glass, half hour later, another large glass, and that'll equal a whole 32 ounces. That turns on the thirst mechanism. It turns on the cleansing mechanism, so the body starts cleaning out toxins. And with that much water, wow, most headaches are not experienced. So water's the first one.
So drinking probably 3 to 4 quarts of water a day
For an average person.
for an average person.
One,
That's the first thing.
1 ounce per pound of body weight, real water, nothing else. No sodas, no colas, no sport drinks. Yes, herbal teas count because they're water with something boiled, extracted into them. But all the
Yes.
rest of the
So that would
man-made drinks are no.
So that would be one of the things in causes. If you drink caffeinated anything, caffeine will give you the headache when you're withdrawing. So, if you wake up with a headache because you haven't had a cola all night.
Or coffee or whatever else.
Wherever else, yeah.
Second major cause of headaches, plant-based usable calcium.
Not enough, but yeah.
Not enough plant-based usable calcium in the diet. And that is true of so many of us now. Winona and I both drink Dr. Christopher's calcium tea pretty much every day because our food sources no longer have enough calcium in them. And so we're trying to get enough calcium, and he's put a few plants together that with a tea format or a capsule format, bring enough calcium into the body every day to meet that calcium need. So if you got children with bones that are hurting during their growth spurt times, joints that are hurting during their growth spurt times, babies that are teething and they're crying a lot, is almost always not enough calcium in the diet to meet that need. We were taking care of grandchildren one time. Mom dropped him off, said, "She's been crying for the last 2 days. I can't do anything for her. You take her for a while. I'm gone." All I did was go get an 18 months old. How old?
Yeah,
2 years?
She was about 16 months old. So.
16 months. All I did is I went and got some calcium tea, got it to room temperature, put it in her bottle. She was a pure gem for the next 2 days. No crying, no fussing, no anything.
Wow.
Just calcium.
Wow.
I said there was 3 primary causes. I'll call it constriction of the arteries that go into the brain, but that can happen from multiple things. Allergies to food or environment can constrict those. For older people, just too much cholesterol in the bloodstream, high blood pressure and too much cholesterol will restrict the flow to the brain. And the secret sauce for that one is cayenne pepper. A teaspoon of cayenne pepper in a glass of water, and that headache or that migraine will disappear in minutes. It's gone.
Oh. Wow.
So you kind of have to know what's the
So how much-
underlying cause to get the right cure.
But it's easy enough.
How much
None of them
cayenne?
hurt you. How much cayenne? If an individual has headaches frequently, and we've solved the water and the calcium, I would take cayenne every day at every meal, 1 or 2 capsules at every meal, and start clearing the cholesterol out of the system and cleaning up and softening the arteries.
Right. But if it's a once in a while migraine kind of thing, we had one of the ladies that we know who she would just put a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon in a glass of water and drink it down really quick.
Migraine's gone.
Yep.
1 minute later, she'd go, oh, I don't need to have the darkened room anymore and all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
The migraine's gone because enough blood flow is getting to the brain. Cayenne opens up the blood flow throughout the body, stops a heart attack in progress, stops a stroke in progress, stops internal and external bleeding, and opens it up so that the migraine will go away.
Yeah. Cayenne's an extremely powerful plant that, you know, not related to this, but we would never not have it because we've actually witnessed 2 different people having heart attacks being saved by taking cayenne. So it's an incredibly powerful thing. And we've heard some amazing stories about it from other people.
Stopping blood flow. It saved my life by stopping internal bleeding that I didn't know I was having. So
Yeah.
I was just going into shock and didn't realize that I was bleeding internally.
Yeah.
Cayenne stopped the bleeding, stopped the shock. I would have never made it to the hospital had that not been true.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So what form do you keep it in? I mean, different from the seasoning. I mean, you can. It sounds like.
So
just-
That's perfect.
When I was going to say, when he had his injury, it was just cayenne in a glass of water, drink it down, just the powder, stuff out of your kitchen. I take it because heart disease runs in my family, and so I just take capsules. I take a handful of capsules almost every day. So, you know, you can take it you can take it in tincture. When my father had a stroke, we just put a little bit of tincture directly in his mouth and then washed it down with water. So you can use it pretty much any format.
Okay.
But I carry a 2 teaspoon small pill bag. 2 teaspoons of cayenne powder will fit in a small pill bag. Put a second one on top of it, and it's no thicker than a credit card once it's gone into your wallet or purse.
Right. And we just keep that with us.
Wow, that's awesome. Huh.
All right. Any other questions? Rachel, Jason, any questions that you want answered? We'll end with a couple more questions. Go ahead, Jason.
So for me, one thing that's very frustrating is my memory has just been bad for a long time. And, you know, there's all these things I want to learn about herbal stuff, you know, and all kinds of different things, but I struggle remembering and focusing and things like that. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Okay. That one's a little bit more difficult, Jason, because without knowing what's contributing to it, it's hard to tell you how to clear that.
Sure.
In fact, one of the things about herbal, I don't know, it's not really herbal medicine because it's not medicine, but herbal support or care for things is that we don't do it. It doesn't work on a symptom-based approach. That's kind of how the medical world comes to it. Well, here's your symptom. I'm going to give you a pill that'll take care of that symptom. We use a system-based approach. So knowing what's underlying it is what matters, because it's the system that's causing the problem that we want to correct, not the symptom, right? Because what happens when we do symptoms is maybe we can correct the symptom and then
create another one.
And then we create another one. You know, that's kind of the merry-go-round of medication, right? They give you a medication to take care of this, and it creates that, and then, you know, I mean, it's just you're suppressing symptoms instead of fixing the underlying health issues. So,
so let's talk about some systems that are involved in memory. gut health is critical to assess for memory issues. If we have an inflamed gut, we will have an inflamed brain. It will affect memory. It'll affect mood. It'll affect mental health issues. And the quick fix of that, honestly, is prebiotics and broad spectrum fresh nutrition.
Eating a plant-based diet. One of the things that was not on your list of things that damage the gut, dairy, meat and dairy both. For a lot of reasons, those animals are given antibiotics to, especially the dairy. They get antibiotics that goes into the milk. That affects your gut the same way it would as if you were taking antibiotics.
So we switched to plant-based milks, almond milk, soy milk, or whatever. So that's gut and brain. Getting the gut healthy for memory is absolutely critical. We have a nerve that connects the gut to the brain directly, and that's the vagus nerve. And that nerve has to also be healthy. So we assess that health as well. For our clients, we actually go through a 62 system assessment that helps to identify what systems are being affected and how to correct it. The other thing that could be true is that there's no power to those systems. And let me try and explain that. This is a little bit harder, but we're multiple system people. As a Western world, we know about the pancreas and the heart and so forth. I mean, all of the different organs and glands. We don't understand as a Western world that there's 14 energy pathways in the body. The Chinese mapped it out thousands of years ago and have been using acupuncture and stuff on it. As a Western world, we actually, if we acknowledge those energy pathways, we can find out that if one of those is powered down, the circuit breaker figuratively is off, then if we can power it back up again, then that system starts working again. And then all we have to do is support it with the right herbs to finish rebuilding the damage. And turning it back on is no harder than turning back on the circuit breaker in our house. We just have to know how to do it. And that's one thing we teach all of our clients is how to turn back on your circuit breakers when you've had significant trauma or injury or something turning it off. So Jason, I could ask, was there maybe a significant trauma that turned off some of the brain function?
I mean, it's a possibility, but not that I know of. I mean, I've wanted to get like my mercury fillings out. I've heard that, you know, sometimes there's issues with that. But nothing major. I mean, my parents, you know, got divorced when I was younger, but I wouldn't think that anything like that would do it. But, you know, no kind of physical trauma.
It's possible. Thank you for mentioning the mercury fillings. I had a ton of them, and I actually finally, most of them are out. And don't get them removed by a regular dentist. They will actually create more problems. What area do you live in, Jason?
So I'm in a little tiny town in Eastern Oregon. My wife and I are actually hoping soon in the next couple of months to open a little health food store here. You know, I've always had an interest in it. I worked at just a single store in Orem, Utah, called Harvest Fresh. You know, they were going for a number of years until they shut down. But, you know, but I hadn't really ever learned a ton until that point. And it's just always kind of been there in the back of my mind. And I just haven't pushed forward to really have that be part of my lifestyle. But I want to, and I'm hoping when we get our store going that that's going to be the case.
You'll want to find a specific dentist that is
biological.
Yeah, biological dentist, absolutely. And make sure that they're certified and trained in Colorado. What's the name of it? I went to Spanish Fork, Utah, which is 3.5, 4 hours from us, but it was worth the drive to make sure that I could get Robertson Biological Dentistry there. And I'm forgetting the name of the training they've had. But they actually cover, I'll give you the 2 or 3 things to watch for. they actually cover your entire body during the extraction process, which only takes 2 or 3 minutes to drill out those mercury fillings. And they cover your entire body with plastic and then give you a breathing tube. And they have the mercury, any remaining gas, being pulled out of the room completely with a very strong suction right next to your mouth. And they wear what I would call hazmat
suits.
Masks with the 2 great big filters on them, and it covers their whole face, because they don't want to have that either. I went to one dentist who says, oh, I can take out that filling. I was sick for 2 months, and she didn't know what she was doing. I'm going, oh, you claimed one thing and did another. I'm sorry to hear that. But
Yeah.
So let's go back to mercury for just a second. You can take mercury out specifically with Dr. Christopher's heavy mineral bugleweed formula and the bloodstream formula. You don't want to use the heavy mineral bugleweed by itself. But I did that for years until I figured out how to get the mercury pulled the rest of the way. Every 2 or 3 months, I'd pull out the heavy minerals with the heavy mineral bugleweed formula and the bloodstream formula paired together.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only way that we would know what else you're going to need is muscle testing and go through your systems. And you're welcome to message or call. How to get a hold of us?
The website has.
Yeah, the website, which we showed earlier, has a contact. Our 800 number is 844-644-4645. And you can hit us there. But just to get through all your systems, make sure they're turned on, make sure none of them are off, and that the mercury is being properly dealt with on the system.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I think we're about out of time, but it's great to have had an opportunity to talk to you. I don't know if it comes across, but I love that our body rebuilds itself. I absolutely love that plants.
Oh, no, that didn't
rebuild.
come across at all.
So thanks for joining.
Well, thank you so much. And one last question: if we're interested in some of these Dr. Christensen's things, do you, since I'm local, yeah, Christopher.
Yeah.
Yep, we carry a full cabinet, all of it. So just holler out and come over and take a look, because we carry more in our cabinet than any of health food stores I've ever been in carry.
Okay.
Well,
So
great.
I still don't carry everything, but we can get it if we know there's something that doesn't match your needs.
Okay.
Yep, so great question.
Okay.
Thank you each for joining us. And we've seen your messages, so thanks for joining also. And no
Can I
question.
ask one other? Sorry.
Go ahead, Jason.
Are you guys going to be doing another one of these sometime?
We don't have any specific ones scheduled. If you have a specific topic that branches out, this is the second time on the COVID topic, and a lot of people sign up and then they would rather just watch it later or some other time, and I don't know that I'll be doing this one again.
Sure. It's just very informative. I just like how it encompasses a lot of different things. I'm still learning, a lot of this kind of stuff. And will this be available to watch later? Like, did you say you can go back and rewatch it?
Yeah, we did save it, and I can send a link out to the YouTube video on it afterwards.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thanks all for joining.
All right. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time. Really, really appreciate
All right.
it.
Good night. We'll see you later.